Okay, hi. I think we're here. I think we're all actually here.
Nice.
This is not where we normally are.
Yeah, we don't do this all often, as a matter of fact. I'm glad everybody's joining us. We've got Richard Griot and Nick Griot on with us. You've heard Nick on the podcast before. We had you on, what, 6 months or something like that? It's
definitely before I was a father, for sure.
That's
so
right.
It's been more than 6 months ago.
Man.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome.
Fantastic.
And this is your dad, Richard Griot, sitting
Yes.
here. So
I'm
if
the
you've
grandfather.
ever wondered who Griot's garage is, and where Griot's garage is, we're in the garage right now, actually, which is really cool. So if you're hearing this, obviously you can't see anything I'm talking about. So know that we're sitting not at the studio where Paul and I normally sit across from each other. We're sitting side by side, which is very weird, I have to acknowledge. But we're sitting here in the actual garage. This is part of the collection that Griot's Garage has. But I should admit, we were talking about this before. We're not going to have a huge car care podcast. We're going to talk about cars because we all love them. We had a great drive today.
I love cars. By the way, we went for an excellent drive. Thanks to you guys for pulling some cars. And we just came up. We were actually in town for the Lemons race, and we just shot that. And we've got a little bit of speed out of our system. So we pulled some cars and just went driving. It was really great.
Tell us the cars we had today. Just give us the list real quick.
1991 Mondial T.
Yes, the
Ferrari.
Mondial, yes,
the
which
Ferrari.
surprised all of us, yeah.
The Intermechanica 356 Roadster with a 911 engine in it.
And what makes it a Roadster over a Speedster? You told us this before.
You can wind the windows up in a Roadster. The windshield's a little higher. Yeah.
Windows make it a Roadster. I love that.
So
that's my favorite.
the rain doesn't come around and slap you in the side of the face.
Okay.
So, what else do we have?
We had a 2000 550 Maranello Ferrari,
Yes.
front engine V12.
Yeah.
Very fun.
3-pedal car as well.
Yeah, 3
awesome,
pedals.
awesome.
You
And
need
the
3
Cobra.
pedals.
Yeah.
And the last one was
Year
Cobra.
2000. Oh, you
no, the Cobra.
Yeah, the Cobra.
The Shelby Cobra, bodied by Kirkham,
And
had raw, no paint on it.
Just all aluminum. You
all
can
aluminum.
See the bend marks and everything.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Shopping for Mondials now. We had no idea that Mondials were that tasty and good. And they really surprised us all. So I've actually been cruising around Auto Tempest searching for Ferrari.
For the last 2 hours, every time we look at Paul, he's actually looking at Mondials.
Cheap.
Yeah.
And we're also having the discussion, of course, about cars that, when do they start to go back up and at what point? And it's sort of the 40-year mark, but then what will those be? And Mondials are kind of on that list now. They're delightful for what they are. It felt robust. They were fast. They were buzzy, and they had the fizz and everything. I really enjoyed it. But
And you could take 4 people in it.
you can take
You could,
4 people.
if you needed to. You can take 4 people, which is not a common
Kids.
Ferrari. Yeah.
2 car seats
Yeah.
in the back at
Yeah.
the next car show, and you roll up, and somebody will be like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
this
And,
You are
cool
my hero.
person.
Yes.
and it's officially rad, too, right?
Yeah.
It is,
Yeah.
It is.
1991.
It's also a Radwood car. Yeah.
And it has a trunk
Radwood.
for diapers.
Yeah.
Okay, before we go further, I know you had a code you wanted to talk about and a giveaway that we're doing.
Yeah, so if you have tuned into our YouTube Lives before, this is a kind of a special cooperation we're doing here. But if you're live streaming on the YouTube right now, we do have an offer code that will be up on the screen shortly. It is SMGL2, and if you spend over $99 with us, you're going to get a free heavy-duty wheel cleaning kit and free shipping. And that offer is going to extend through your guys' podcast.
The first day of the
anybody
podcast, yes.
living or listening to it will get that same offer for participating and listening. And then we have selected a pre-submitted question that's going to win a giveaway. And likewise, anybody who's listening or watching on YouTube right now, keep submitting your questions. We're going to pick a question that we all like the most for a very big giveaway at the end.
No pressure, because that means we got to read all of these questions.
Yeah.
I got to zoom that in. That's
Already,
yeah.
Justin,
I got to
as we
zoom
see
that
from
in.
Delafield, Wisconsin. Holy cow! This is
There's
great.
a lot of them. So
Keep asking
there'll be
your
another one.
questions, guys.
Yeah.
We'll get to stuff in just
Alrighty.
a moment. All right, so you've got the code all figured out, and then we'll pick a question a little bit.
Have
later
you
in the
stopped
podcast.
looking at Mondials long enough for us to continue?
They're great. They're so cheap. Look at this, in 1989.
Stop.
For
No one, only you
$55,000.
are looking at it. Actually, if you are doing the live stream, you can probably see this picture of the 4 cars parked in front of the Griot's Garage situation here. Actually, there's by the way, the lime green, what do they call the lime green Hellcat? They have a name for it, a goofy name for the lime one. But anyway.
Sublime Lime.
Okay. So
Is it?
that one we
so.
didn't
Okay.
drive, but the
All right.
other 4 we drove.
Yeah.
Just so you can see the back of all 4 of those cars. Very cool. Of course, Chance was with us. He was shooting photography by sticking a camera out of the top of the car as we were driving. So it was awesome. I decided to lose my Everyday Driver limited edition cap. It was sacrificed to the gods of the highway right as soon as we got on the road, which is fine. Yeah, it was all good.
No, absolutely. All right. Well, Nick and I were talking about video production a little bit earlier, and we have acknowledged that we can't get to every car question, but I will say everything that is on the channel you're on now, that's where I learned it from. And Nick has produced a lot of great videos at this point. So there's some that we can't answer, but there's so many videos that you've already done, and you pulled all that in-house, is my understanding, all your video production for those videos and various things. And we're getting great questions about, little things like the gas dripping down the side of the paint, and how do you get that off? And then, flat matte paint, how do you take care of that? I like it, but we can't, of course, answer all the questions. We're here to talk about cars.
Yeah, and this has been a great aspect of it. Obviously, we're here live, we're talking through. We just wanted to chat about cars, but we do this YouTube live to engage and get a lot of questions. But yeah, this channel is where we do all of our education, and this guy sitting next to me, he was pretty integral in teaching.
You were a bit involved in Griot's garage, weren't you, Mr. Griot?
Just a bit, just a bit. It's out of a labor of love, I think.
What was the start? What was the impetus?
I was working in my garage. I wasn't finding quality tools or great car care products, and was becoming, pretty, darn frustrated. So I didn't even have a catalog, but I was at a car show, and I started putting, would you like a catalog of these things on everybody's windshield? And lo and behold, people started sending that in, and that's how I said, oh gosh, I've got to do this now.
now I have to do something.
I've got 10 people that would like to buy some products.
Sure. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Good. Well, you're a long way from that.
I love
now.
cars, so I love.
Well, obviously, look at the cars in any direction in any of these shots.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and I'm thrilled we got to drive those today. We have a great question that came in from Chris. Chris is one of our patrons. I want to talk about this a little bit. He's asking the question. You and I debate a lot about being too precious.
Yeah, you goon me a lot about too.
Well, yes, but there's been quite a bit of growth on your part about being too precious.
Thank you.
Because the whole discussion is you buy a car that you may have begged, borrowed, stolen, and saved for, and now it's something you don't want to drive anywhere, because what if, fill in the blank, someone breathes on it, there's a shopping cart, somebody actually spilled something. What if? That is the huge issue that we have. And look, it's a common reality. I know it's a common reality. But Chris is writing in and going, look, and I know Chris, I know the car you're talking about. You are a father, and you just got an FRS, and you've never had a sports car before. I happen to know that about you, Chris. So you've said, okay, you want to be very protective of this car. Nobody but your wife is allowed to have any drinks in the car. And the kids know that if you're playing outside, play away from the car. Which, look, frankly, I think this is good parenting. However, but your question is, where's the line of being protective versus being precious, where it's my car, it's my car?
The same?
Yes, it's a good question.
I thought that could be good because, he's a father. You're a new father, which I like, but that actually leads us to a great debate, guys. We've got a cool debate for Peter S. They're having a baby. He and his wife are having a baby at the end of the year. He's been thinking about birthday presents for his soon-to-be daughter, and he's thinking in this future world of Uber and Apple cars and Waymo and whatever the pod on wheels that we're all going to be driving around. Well, what should he buy now for his daughter to be the future collector? What could go up now? And I think it actually ties in with the things that we drove today. By the way, we will post those photos on our Instagram as well. Got a ton of great photos.
Yeah,
and,
they're good.
We actually stopped and traded cars, and then we would drive a little bit further and trade cars again. And then, Richard, you were saying, all right, at the very last stop, we've got to decide who's back in what. I don't think we've still actually decided
we didn't
car
decide.
was the choice for the day.
Yeah.
Hard
you
to
guys stuck
decide.
Me with the Cobra, and it was really hot outside, so I've now got a full-on burn mark on my right leg. But I don't think we decided.
We didn't decide which is the best of the four. But yeah, the thing I love about the young father question is the fact that he's not even a father yet. He's
like
father
this
to
guy.
be. It's great, absolutely. This is
He's-
our audience.
he's
It's pretty cool.
He's going to be driving the car for the next 16 years.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I
just an
was
excuse.
doing it for you, baby. I was doing it for you.
It's
it
an
for my
excuse
daughter.
to buy another car.
It is. Which, hey,
So-
we're all looking for that. That's
Right,
good
and
news.
this is the best excuse I've ever heard.
Do we have, okay, on our 4 cars, let's go back to that 4 cars.
All right.
Do we have a favorite? I know, and I'm not saying we all have to have a collective favorite.
Yes.
But where'd we land?
Well, we started with the idea that we were going to frame this as an everyday driver debate, right? Where
Right.
we would have
Yeah.
a couple Ferraris, which are accessible, yet not really the easiest cars to imagine being accessible.
Yes,
Uh,
true.
in the Mondial, which is kind of neglected, and then the 550, which represents the last of the analog front-engine V12 Ferraris.
Yeah.
And then we had two replicas, which again were you can
Achievable.
really go in at different levels of access, where you get a fiberglass-bodied speedster, you can put a Volkswagen engine in, or do
Yeah.
what Richard did and go full 911.
But that's the thing, you can do it at whatever your level is. You could have one
right.
and you can go nuts, or you can have one and go conservative, and you still have one, and it's going to look and drive almost like what we had today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we had a beautiful Washington day. Perfect sun, not
Totally.
a cloud in the
Totally,
sky. And Richard apparently had a drive in mind, and we trusted him to take us, and I think we had a pretty good drive.
We did well. We did very well.
excellent.
Yeah.
And we all got to drive each car.
Which is by the way, if you're doing cruises with your friends, if you have the ability, and this is hard because depending on who your friends are, this is back to the precious thing. Can you do a cruise with your friends, and can you keep swapping keys? That's hard, but it's one of the best ways, one of the best inexpensive ways to keep getting a lot more driving experience.
Yeah, there's one car that I didn't like today, and that's the car you guys stuck me with at the end of the day. But I loved
insane
but I loved all the cars.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no to.
I think
any one of
the
them.
Cobra was the most out of its element today, because it's hot.
It was hot.
It's angry.
Yeah.
It's rumbling. I feel like I'm sitting about here
Yes.
in
I
that
just
car.
wanted to be a hooligan
You know.
in that thing.
Oh,
Everywhere
yes.
we went,
Yes.
because we rumbled through downtown Gig Harbor, and there's
Yeah.
families out, and I'm thinking it's Monday.
Yeah.
What?
We were scaring
Everybody
children.
was
yeah.
out. And
Yeah.
I was driving through, just blipping the throttle, and people look over and like, "Arr."
It is like
It just
it's
brings that out
really
in you.
wound up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's
Very
uh,
fun.
But
Very
the
fun.
floors are hot, and you have no AC, so it's not really an ideal car to be moving through traffic in. The wind in your hair, when it was in your hair, was fine, but
Yeah.
even so, you've got heat coming up from your legs, and not the winter today, for sure.
It's raw and
I
angry.
know, but
the Mondial was a real surprise.
Yeah.
Honestly, because it's just, I don't think before today I've ever honestly heard anybody be like, you have to drive the Mondial. And there was a discussion we got into this morning about it being
You have to
surprising.
drive Mondial.
And so we went and drove it, and we all got out of it. You hadn't even driven it. You had that response as well.
No, but yeah, I mean, he was going, "Why did you buy the Mondial, Dad?" And she's like, "Just drive it." And it's like, "Nah, I'm not driving that thing."
It's been
And it-
snickered at.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
you roll
I
up to
know.
a Ferrari show, you're going to get laughed
Yeah.
at, and it's the unloved thing. But I feel like it is kind of an accessible. It felt robust, and
Yeah.
the fragility that I expected was not there. As a matter of fact, I thought it was going to be, the greasy switches in the
Yeah.
buttons in Ferraris that can get
Yeah.
all greasy.
I think that's a
and-
few years later.
that's
you know,
later on,
maybe.
but I felt like this was robust. The brakes felt great.
Yeah.
It wound out wonderfully. I just wanted to drive that thing. Of course, I came back to the Porsche, but I really wanted to drive it. And here I am shopping.
Yeah.
Well, the thing I found most surprising about it is you could drive it, and it could just be car. Normal car,
Yeah.
no big deal,
Right.
car. And then you'd have an opportunity in a corner, or you'd have the opportunity to really make that engine sing. You go,
Yeah.
wait, this has got a whole other layer. I made the joke to Chance. I said, why aren't we all buying these? Why isn't this the family car?
It should be the family car, right?
Yeah,
You can
for
put
sure.
the groceries in the back, put the kids in the little tiny seats,
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and put your spouse or your ultra hot girlfriend in the passenger seat.
Call it a good day.
Yeah,
Got it.
call it a good
Done.
day.
Ferrari's practical.
Yeah.
That's the lesson.
And I
that we
think that
learned here.
This is really what the key thing on the Everyday Driver podcast is. The Ferraris are practical. Yeah, we're all surprised.
Surprisingly practical.
Well, we were just like this gentleman here that wanted the Subaru Brat or whatever.
Oh,
over
you mean
the-
for
Yeah.
this conversation? Yeah, with Pete
Yeah.
here. He was
Yeah,
shopping
I mean,
for his
he's
daughter
just,
later. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
he's just making excuses. We were making excuses, and yeah.
So let's talk about Chris's question about where's the precious versus protective thing. Is there a line? How do we navigate that?
So, I used to be one of these precious, overly protective people until I had kids, and this
Sure.
son that's sitting next to me used to pull the nipple out of his milk bottle and drop the milk on the carpet, and
Fantastic.
that's when I kind of lost. Like, you know what? Cars are neither precious nor what's the other word I'm looking for?
We're being
Yeah,
protective.
or
Where's the thing? Yeah.
protective.
Yeah.
So I think having kids kind of changes your whole perspective about that. And now hey, it's just a fender if somebody backs into it. And yes, it's going to hurt,
Yeah.
but it is still, okay, so you lost the original paint job and all the other stuff.
Well, and I've seen him shift as well, where again, everything's precious. You do want to be protective. We have kind of coached all of the people that have followed Griot's Garage to be able to, you know, repair and protect their car in any situation. But really, if it's too precious to drive and enjoy and do what we did today, then I think you should sell the car. Because you can do all the maintenance, you can look at it. If you only stare at it and that's the only enjoyment you ever get, I don't know that you're really understanding the essence of the automobile. So be protective, understand that most things can be repaired, but if it's so precious that it can't be enjoyed, then
Get rid of it.
We think
I
what you
agree.
got.
Yeah, that's
Just-
our conversation
yeah.
generally as well. Yeah.
Well, since we've driven Ferraris today, I've seen so many Ferraris that are garage queens, and they're not driven, and the Porsche guys have rock chips all over the front of their car.
Right.
They're beat on.
Yeah.
And then there's some Ferrari collectors that haven't even driven too much. Now it depends on the model and the preciousness of the car.
Totally, yeah.
But what I loved about the accessibility of both the Ferraris we had today was they just felt like they needed to be driven. They just felt that way, and we did, and it was great.
And they like it.
I really enjoyed that aspect, and it seemed to pull it into some sort of realistic area for me, and that's kind of why I'm shopping a little bit. But it just seemed to pull it back into, okay, before both these cars go up in value,
Right.
it could be. I mean, there's the Ferrari maintenance with both of them. There is that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
They're not Hyundais, of course.
This is true.
But-
Ferraris are not Hyundais. There's not an equal sign
I'm
there.
just saying, but
But it's one of the last Ferraris you can actually work on yourself if you really wanted to. I mean, just like the
Guess
ball
so.
joints are simple,
it's
you
still
know.
a car, as we know.
Yeah.
Cars, yeah.
And I had the tack out of that car because it was bouncing around a little bit, and I was just feeling with the wires. So it is stuff that you can
Like taking
work
a
on.
racer to the leads and like clean things off. and
Yeah,
look at
just
stuff you do
just
yourself.
like, just. I mean, it's still basic, right?
While we're talking about accessible stuff, let's cover this question that we have.
Yeah.
Because I think it relates right here to where we are.
So our pre-submitted question that we have decided collectively
Yes,
is
it's a great one.
our
It's a great
first
one.
giveaway winner comes from the Griot's Garage Instagram account, and it is from Mediocre Handle.
Which is a surprisingly mediocre handle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I guess
Funny.
it's
Love it.
described.
It works, yeah.
And the question is, and this is, strikes a chord with all of us, for Todd and Paul, and likewise the subsequent question said Sam and Nick, but Sam has been supplanted by Richard.
I'm the
so,
new Sam.
Yeah. You're doing a good job as Sam.
Yeah,
Well done. Yeah.
it's Sam's stuff to keep up with.
Why aren't hatchbacks as popular in the U.S. as they are in Europe? Dealerships usually carry 10 times the stock of sedans as they do hatchbacks. I have one and love it, mostly because it's unique, yet not too much a deviation from the norm here, which are sedans. So, I mean, I kind of understand where he's coming from. Why aren't all European cars and styles popular in America? I have an opinion.
Well, that's
I'm
what,
sure
that's
you
what
all
we're here
do
for.
too.
That's what we're here for. Yes, absolutely.
I think it's space to begin with. I mean, we have Montana, Wyoming, Texas. I mean, we've got some ground to cover. And so I think as, people living in the U.S. are used to big, wide open spaces, and then, the cars are designed around that. We've discussed this before. Every country on the planet, you can kind of tell what kind of size roads and space in the cities you've got.
Right.
And I think where that has grown out of, I mean, we joke about, mothers with kids in Suburbans in the U.S. with plastic everything. And then, European mothers doing the same thing. They've got a couple of kids and they're in a little hatchback or wagon.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What's the difference?
Yeah.
There's
The,
no
the
difference.
kids aren't larger over here. How
Right,
are we
we're still
accomplishing this?
Taking
Yeah.
care of the children, doing our errands. and
Yeah.
We're still fine. But I think it really comes from initially the popularity because of that's the size of the roads. It's parking, it's space. But I think people are discovering smaller and smaller cars, especially with the advent of turbocharged engines. We're seeing that in SUVs now. Little
Yeah.
tiny turbo engines
Right.
and Hyundais and that kind of thing. I mean, cars are growing, but I think as engines get smaller, I think people will discover that
Yeah.
more and more. I'd like to think that, but
There's been a weird
an
progression
enthusiast thing.
in car purchasing. And what's interesting is to watch how, if you think about, go back to the Vacation movie. I know I went to movies, but follow me. Go back to the Vacation movie with the weird family hauler in there that was a big big terrible wagon,
Awesome.
which was showing you on purpose. I forget what they called it. It had a great name. I forget what they called it. But it was showing you essentially at that point wagons were the pariah, like full-size
Yes.
wagons were the
Truckster.
pariah.
Yeah, right, the family truckster.
There you go.
Truckster,
So
yeah.
it was those were the pariah, and everybody ran to either Suburbans or then shortly thereafter minivans. But
Right.
jump 15 years, and now minivans are the pariah, and we're
Yeah.
all going to SUVs. But the thing I think is interesting is, back on your question, on your point, the wagons, little tiny hatchbacks aren't as accepted because we don't have to go small because our roads are big. But then the secondary thing that I think that we've talked about before that is so funny is the fact that, okay, minivans are terrible now. So we don't want a minivan, but we want the minivan size. So what if we had it in an SUV? So now we're all buying SUVs, but as the SUVs get bigger, we're slotting models underneath it, and you get things like the Mercedes GLA,
Yeah.
And the
which is an
BMW
SUV.
X2.
Yes.
That's a
That
hot hatch.
their SUV, that's a hot hatch. It's a hatchback.
Yeah, right.
You're just selling a hatchback with a 3-inch lift kit and calling it an SUV. So hatchbacks, back to the question here, hatchbacks aren't loved. I love the question, but hatchbacks aren't loved in this country because it reminds people, my wife is one of them. She's like, I don't want a wagon. It's like, but it's not,
Wagons are cool.
I can't
Wagons are cool.
but-
Europeans love
but there-
wagons.
True, but
We
there
don't
is in
love
this
wagons.
country, they became this thing where nobody wants a wagon because everybody,
Yeah.
when we were growing up, we had this supposedly bad experience in a wagon, and now we don't want wagons.
Whoever had a bad experience in a wagon?
Probably kids that sat in back without air conditioning.
See, there you go. See,
Facing
that's the
backwards, and the two backwards seats out the back windows.
yeah. After a while, you just get car sick. So anyway,
Yeah.
so you had a bad experience in a wagon. Now we don't want wagons. We also don't want minivans. We all want SUVs, but those have circled back to be hatchbacks on stilts. That's
Yeah.
the only way that
Yeah, they
wagons and
handle
hatchbacks
bad.
are sold. And
Yeah.
if you dropped them all back down 3 inches, they'd all
Yeah.
handle better.
Yeah, they would.
Yeah,
They
it's
would.
like the Chrysler Pacifica is what always comes to mind with the station wagon minivan SUV
Yes.
concept, where
Yeah.
ride height, you're pretty much just taking the concept up and down. And for me, I've been a hatchback owner. Like I owned my first car that I drove that didn't blow up was a Golf 2.0.
Wait, how many were on the list prior?
One blew
Oh,
up.
okay. I just
prior.
wondered.
But
Just
it
wondered.
Was a car that my brothers and I all shared. It was a 2.0 Mark IV Golf, 8-valve. It was terribly slow. It was perfect for 3 boys learning how to drive.
Love
Yes,
it. Love it.
was.
And then I had a R32 that I kept for 6 years, and then I bought a Golf R recently that I had to get rid of because it was too electronic and very unfun to drive. Probably going to make people angry with that. But
We've had golf
comments are
conversations.
I
before.
think
It's all
I
good,
think
yeah.
it's all about what Paul said with regards to the size of the spaces you can drive the car, and then likewise the amount of time you need to spend in your car going places. So if you've got a family of 5 in Europe and you're going from Munich to Austria, it's a 45-minute drive, right? That's your road trip. You
Right.
can go see
Yeah.
a different country and culture.
Yeah.
If you want to go see Yellowstone, you're in there for 3 days.
That's a fair point. That's a
coming
fair
from
point.
Seattle.
That is
So-
a big factor.
so
That's a
suburban,
great factor. Yeah.
makes a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
I love hatchbacks. I love station wagons.
I love hatchbacks. I think.
We might just like a little too many cars.
It's been weird I've been in Rome and I've seen a Boss Mustang 1970. No, it was a Mach 1 with Cali plates.
What?
What on earth? And I've been in Munich and I saw a Suburban that was rather out of its element, but I thought, okay, you're a catering company or
Yeah,
something.
right.
And then I've seen Dodge, we've seen Dodge Ram trucks.
Yeah,
in,
in Germany,
various places
yeah.
in Germany.
But yeah.
It seems so out of their element there. And
Yeah.
they're commonplace here, but the size of the country, the space. But once you get outside the
So
city
did we
limits,
answer the
you're
question?
Fine. You're fine.
Yeah, we
All right,
dealt on this a
okay.
little bit.
All
Thanks for that
I
question.
think, in summary,
The greatest hatchback ever made
Oh, wow.
Oh,
is this 1976-77 Rabbit, or the
Okay.
Golf.
All right, it's a good throwdown. I like that. That's a good throwdown.
Clean.
That's really good. Let's talk about this future collector question. Can we deal in that?
I think we should jump onto this. This again is from Peter S. He is writing to us. Initially, he was asking for suggestions for himself, and he said he couldn't find a Subaru Brat, so he settled for a '91 Mercedes 300 CE.
This was a question he'd sent in to us a while back.
Yes. I think we were doing emailing with him, and so
Yep.
he said, now I need help with his buying question here. He said his wife is having a baby at the end of the year, and he's been thinking about birthday presents for his soon-to-be daughter. So it occurs to him by the time she's driving 16 years from now, 16 and a half when she's born. She's not born yet.
Yeah,
And
it's
we're
going to be a
still
bit.
shopping.
It's going to be a bit.
We're
Yeah, keep
shopping
going.
for people that haven't been born yet.
Yeah. Today
just
on
occurred
Everyday
to me.
Driver, we're
All right,
shopping for
so-
people that have not yet been born.
with the advent of Uber and Waymo and whatever the
Yes,
future cars
yes.
are, wouldn't it be cool if she, as he terms it, had an old dinosaur bone collector car already in her name? So the question is, for a budget of $25,000 to $50,000, what is the kind of sort of investment car now with deep storage, maybe driven once a month? Yeah, sure, right, Peter.
Yeah. So you're saying Mondial now, aren't you?
Mondial's
Okay,
going up.
got
there.
it. Keep
It's
going.
got to be. And
All right.
then given to her when she graduates from medical school. Clearly, I think you have goals for your daughter. He says 911s make sense, yes, but they'll never stop making them. How about a Viper? How about other ideas? Mondials are now on the list.
Who would have thought?
This is what's happened
would've
today
thought?
to you with the Mondial.
Yeah.
I'm
Believe
just boggled by it. I
Suddenly
really am.
I'm back to Ferrari.
Well, he also says, how about a Viper? I don't think you really want to hand a Viper to a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I don't think you want to have the Viper to most people,
Yeah.
but I agree with
So
you.
Exactly.
it sounds like he's buying a car for himself here
Underneath.
for the next 16 years.
Agreed.
And then,
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I want to dig into this a little bit on what cars we think. But I have a side note here, real quick, and this is Peter writing into us. Peter, I want you to ponder something here. I like that this is, as you already said, Richard, this is a nice excuse to buy another fun car. You're actually guessing that your child, girl, boy, doesn't matter, that your child is going to like cars when it comes around.
Well, he's already
Okay.
sending her to medical school, and she's not born yet.
This
so
is true.
she's
This is
gonna be a
true.
doctor, clearly.
But the world will need doctors, no matter what technologies happen
Fair
between
enough,
now and then.
fair enough. I
The
agree.
world might not like cars, is
I
my
agree.
point.
All right,
Okay,
all right.
we'll like cars, but in general, all right.
Good.
So we actually know somebody that a guy that had one of the cars. It was the second car in our in this American Original, the second
Okay,
car in that film.
All right.
That guy that owned that car is restoring 4 cars, all Corvettes, one for each of his kids.
That's
Now,
so
on
awesome.
one level, amazing. I agree with you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
The cars are gorgeous. He had by far the most beautiful car in the film. But then I had this question: what if you have a kid that doesn't like cars? Are they mad at dad now? This is my genuine question. So my question for you here, Peter, my thought is, you're jumping the gun a bit in the hopes that she's going to like cars. So
I, can see that. So
I
you're
feel like
saying wait till she's 3, 5, and you start to take her to some car-related events to gauge interest before you invest. But he's wanting to invest now.
he's
before
wanting to
prices
make
go
it.
up.
He's wanting to make an excuse to invest in a car.
Yes,
This is the flip
yes.
side. Which there's some genius there. But I'm just saying, don't. I want to give you permission to, if you want to invest in a car for this purpose, great. But I don't think you should tie your brain into, because my daughter's going to love it. She might use that as gravy.
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
what I'm worried about is tying that emotional reality into that car, and then if your daughter, son, doesn't matter, if they don't want a car, what weird reality does that create, just from a parental perspective, you know?
You could just drop them off at a parking lot by that time.
The kid, not the car, by
Yeah,
the way,
right.
Yeah, got it. Okay, excellent. All right.
I mean, if a kid doesn't like cars, I mean, just teach him how to walk a few miles.
We are kind of a captive audience in that discussion. That's a fair point, yes.
You know they're just going to be ordering up Ubers, automated Ubers.
No,
on
they're
their
not.
phone, and
No, they're
that'll
not.
be that.
No.
Well, I think part of what I think of in this particular scenario is, yes, this is an excuse.
Yes.
B, you have a very valid point. But it looks like what he's saying is that I'd love a car to hand over to my daughter. But part of that love, it can't be forced. It essentially
Agreed.
has to
Agreed.
be practiced over time. And we had this hot rod show in our backyard this past weekend, and you see a truck. It may be a piece of crap truck, and there's 1,000 of them there. But you've got 3 generations in that truck. So that third generation clearly can't drive.
Sure.
The first generation has purchased that truck and has curated it, and it essentially has become a part of the family. And so when that third generation may have the opportunity to drive that car, if you've done things together like that, then I think it's not really do I like cars as much as it is like, this is a picture of my grandfather.
It's a history
right?
thing.
Or
It's
my
your
grandmother.
heritage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see that. I
It
see that
is.
totally.
And
If you
that's-
can connect to that,
yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
And I think that's, I mean, we buy cars because, they belong to Nick's grandfather or his other grandfather or his grandmother. you know, or the Ferrari Mondial that he couldn't stand until today, right?
Hey.
So now he's like, oh, my
But-
dad's a god.
But see, well, I don't know about that. But that's the other thing for Peter though is that
Yeah.
it might take time. I like the doing things together thing. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make the car a part of the experience, and
Definitely.
then you minimize the potential for a lack of love of it. But in terms of what I believe is a $25,000 to $50,000 budget, man, that Mondial is hard to beat.
Telling you.
I love this became.
Yeah.
This needs to be called the Mondial podcast because
No,
it's just all about that now. And Richard's
Where
just
is-
shaking his head. You've been wondering where this has been for years.
Yeah, no, well, and I've been chasing one for 20 years, and I finally bought one 8 months ago. So this is, I mean, this is fairly new for me too. And this-
Interesting,
as soon as I drove it, I thought, oh wow, the hood just drops away. You can see every little
Yeah,
pebble on the
who knew?
road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know, a 240Z as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of biased because I've been looking at late 80s, early 90s SUVs like everybody else seems to be doing right now, and they're right in that sweet spot. I don't know that they
That's
have
a safe car,
They
too.
have an upper end investment. I don't know that I'd call them safe, but at the same time, those are cool cars. I mean,
Yeah.
they're never not
Yeah.
cool, and you can.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
family road trip and throw the dog in back, and
Yeah.
definitely not precious, but maybe at some point they're going to be a dinosaur and everybody's going to look at that FJ62 Land Cruiser and say, that's the coolest car ever made.
Well, but I think
could be,
we've
could be.
talked before on the podcast and some of our films that's come up as well. There's like a 40-year moving swath. So the cars from 40 years
yes.
ago are now the ones that are spiking at auctions. And we're
Yes.
just now, that 40-year swath is just now starting to reach the early 90s. I think all those great cars from the 90s are only on their way up. So we're talking 300ZXs and Supras. I mean, the Supra's already going up. The RX-7, that FD, the original NSX. All these
Yeah.
I'm only Japanese so
Yeah.
far, but all these early 90s cars that were icons then, I think those are probably all headed up. The
Well,
good ones.
There's also we all want that 40-year mark to actually be 30 or 25 years, and I just don't think it's there. Imagine the 1990 C4 Corvette ZR1. They're 17,000. They're 19,000. They're
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
Yeah.
really inexpensive, and they're surprisingly great hot rods, but they're still not old enough, and they're because they're cheap.
Yeah.
And then, as soon as we get a little bit further
Yeah.
away, then they'll start to go up
Yeah.
even more. And I wish the cutoff were at like 20 years. But a 10-year-old car now, modern cars, they're fine. There's
Yeah.
no reason to not drive a 10-year-old. They're fine.
Yeah.
Plug your phone in. That's your, your nav, and
They won't even have phones. I mean, they're going to have chips planted in their neck in 16 years, and then there's not.
phone
I
in
mean,
your
the
back
phone
molar.
holder. What the hell's that?
Yeah, you're right. That's fair. That's fair.
yeah.
There won't be Apple CarPlay. We're not going to worry about that. We'll
Yeah.
do something else by that point.
All right, so we've got to turn to some questions on here. A lot of you
There's a
are
lot of
asking
questions. Keep posting questions.
We also have a few questions that you've asked on our social media as well. Question from John G on Facebook. His fiance and he are going to honeymoon in Seattle this October. Any suggestions for things to see while we're there? They're going to be going to the shop. We know Matt Bell at the shop, and you guys
Yeah,
know him
yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And quite a collection from collectors all over. I mean, there's a lot of enthusiasts. I'm continually surprised about the whole Seattle area. He said, is the Griots collection open to the public? And
No pressure.
they're planning to Turo a base Alfa Giulia.
Cool.
The collection is not always open, but we do make exceptions.
Okay, all right.
So
But you guys are always-
for a honeymoon, I would say yes. Come on in.
Okay,
You're always
there
you're
it is,
always
John.
having car groups here, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys
Yeah.
have cars and coffee here practically all
We
the
do.
time, don't you?
We do once a month, and
Yeah.
then there's always something, the car club going on here every weekend.
Which is great.
Just I work right behind me here in the office, and Nick works over there somewhere. I don't know what he does, but
You keep them around. but I
yeah, we
understand,
keep
yeah.
them around. But
That's good.
when one of us is here and they ask for us at the front desk, we don't hide under our desk. We go out to the store and shake hands, and I mean, we love car people. We're in the car people.
But we just
world.
pulled cars that went for a drive because it was Monday.
It was
which
Monday.
is great, which we love.
And we were trying to figure out what everybody else was doing on Monday. I
Yeah,
mean,
you're right.
Yeah.
Lunch spot was busy. We were like, "Why?
No one
we're
works.
working."
We know why we're here. What are you all doing? We've got cars. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, just to clear that up, it sounds like a tour is in order, especially on a honeymoon. So if you want to swing through Tacoma, we'll just bank on you making contact with everyday driver or somehow.
Come to us, that's fine.
And we will we'll give you a tour, because the space we're recording in right now is not generally open to the public. There's a lot of just active projects and people at work here, so we tend to keep it private for that reason. But that being said, the car shows are always happening. We do have rotating cars in the auto display, so it's worth the trip, especially if you've used our product or are a fan of ours. Come on by. Again, we're in the building every day. If you're very polite, we generally take you back here.
John, there's your answer. The answer is yes, and especially for your honeymoon. So thanks for
especially for the
generosity,
honeymoon.
guys.
I think it's
That's
great that they're touring a base Alfa Giulia too. I
Yeah,
hope that is great.
That's
There's
really
been a
cool.
lot of discussion of late about the Giulia. It keeps coming back because I keep saying that it really is great to drive, and people keep saying, have you seen the car and drive? Yes, I've seen the car and driver 40,000 mile debacle, because it was.
Yeah.
But we keep talking about the fact, granted we haven't had a long term, but we keep talking about the fact that our press cars have always been good, and we've Turo'd multiple Giulias in the base setting, and they are Turo cars, and they've been great for us, and we've asked people after the fact, how is this a Turo car? And they're like, what are you talking about? It's been great. So there's no question that the car has some reliability issues. It's not a Honda Accord, but at the same time, it's not the minute you get in the Giulia, it's going to break.
It's
clearly.
not across the board.
So I'm excited that they're going to Turo that car. That's really cool.
That's fantastic. All right, we've got some questions up here too. Let's see here. Edmund, you've got some great questions on here, I noticed.
And just to be clear, we are taking a question from the YouTube Live, so keep submitting questions.
Yep. One of those is going to win something.
Yeah, we got a big giveaway for the best question submitted. So if you've been saving your question, stop doing that. Fire away right now. We are going to answer it.
Stop stopping.
James is asking about the new Corvette. We could go for a while. I will say this: we have two podcasts. It's 418 and 419. Those two episodes both go in depth into our thoughts on the C8 Corvette to this point. That is not to exclude you guys if you have something to say about it, but I'm just mentioning we have talked about it a lot already.
I have one thing to say.
Please.
As a previous Corvette owner, the worst thing I heard said, or people thought it was that they were saying something bad about it, was that it looks like an American Ferrari for 60 grand.
Which doesn't sound like a downside.
Nearly 500 horsepower. And I just was, when did we decide Ferraris look bad? And why are we sad that Chevrolet is making one for $60,000? I want one.
Yeah, I hear you.
want one.
I think
I want
that's
one.
the crazy thing. A lot of people
Yeah,
want one.
I
And
want one.
That right there shows an amazing level of interest.
I would like 3 pedals, but other than that,
Well, but yeah, this is our world.
If
unfortunately.
it's got to be that transmission, I still want one.
Yeah. Speaking of 3 pedals, Drew had a question for us on Instagram. He said that his wife has gotten to the place where she's proficient enough with a manual transmission that she can do it first, second, third. She's okay. She just doesn't care to get any better at it. She's just kind of, okay, I can kind of do it and I'm done now. And his question is, how do I get her to want to do it more? First off, you're not going to be able to force her. So be careful there. Let's not start a fight over this. And I want to hear your thoughts on that. My big question is, because we just had an experience at Lemons where a guy, Greg, at Lemons that was in the race with us, he's been a car guy his whole life, and he just bought an NA Miata, and his wife has fallen so in love with the car that he doesn't get to drive it anymore. What I'm wondering is, if you have a car, Drew, that she really likes, and it's only a manual, that I think is a motivator. But I'm curious from you, Richard, what was your thought?
Well, just send her to skid control school, and she'll be doing donuts, and she'll never want to get out of the car.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean that's yeah.
Learn to drift. Why not?
You learn to drift, and she'll love to drive anything manual.
Yeah, I discuss it
I
with
guess-
my wife a lot. She insists that she is very proficient at driving manual. And the last time I saw her drive manual was a non-power steering 89 Porsche 911.
Cool.
And she's a pretty little girl, so non-power steering, it challenged her, and there's a lot going on.
Sure.
Long story short, I think a defensive driving course or some type of driving school is the perfect setting, because the parking lot is safe, but when you get out into the rigmarole of other bad drivers around you and adding the stress of manual, that's not a winning formula. You definitely need to keep controlling the environment. But if you go and make a trip and make half the trip about what she wants to do and then half about what you want to do, which means driving school and 3 pedals and finding somewhere to do that, then that's going to break down the wall. Granted, that's an investment, but
Wine tasting and driving school, all in one.
But
Not
no,
on the same days.
driving
Not
schools
Maybe.
before.
we
should
separate
fix that.
those.
I'm sure there's cheaper, like an autocross or something.
Yeah, sure.
Go
Yeah.
get involved in a driving program. Ideally, if it's somebody else's car, right?
No, but that is the benefit of driving schools. No, that's the benefit of driving schools, is because you
Yeah.
can beat on that car. And we've talked before about the fact of never teach your spouse to drive manual. Have somebody else do that. But we've already gotten over at least the beginning of this with Drew. I mean, his wife already can drive a little bit, but I think it's a combination. I love this driver training stuff, but I do think if you wound up with a car, Drew, that she needs or wants, it's going to be wants to drive, that has only 3 pedals, she's going to drive that car.
And the Miata is perfect for that.
Yeah,
Well,
agreed.
You're touching on my thought here, and that is the car that you find for her, Drew, and that is she wants something more out of that. Maybe you start out with an automatic Toyota 86, and she's liking the dynamics of the car so much that you say, now let's add a manual to that, and it'll pull
Yeah.
even more driver involvement out of you. So let's maybe take it step by step. An automatic, a PDK, a DSG, some kind of car.
So you're just shopping transmissions. You're giving
Well,
transmission shopping homework?
That
That's a
could
first.
be
That is a
transmission
first.
shopping homework, because you want to start out with the dynamics of the car, then move her up to add
Poor
manual.
Drew's buying a new
Because-
car every 6 months.
Well, yeah. Well, there's more turoing going on,
That-
because if you
I
if you
guess.
just drop her right into, you do everything. It's like sending somebody out onto the racetrack for the very first time, not knowing cornering line. And by the way, here's a manual car from the 80s. Go fast too.
By the
Oh, and
way-
you talk to camera while you're at it.
By the
and
way, this is the
be
reason
funny
my
and
wife
brilliant.
will not get on a track again, because her first
Okay,
track
well.
experience was in my Lotus, and now she's like, you
I'm
know
just
what?
saying,
You go to the
work your
track.
way
I'm
into
fine.
those things and find the driving experience you like, and then add an automatic. Just keep or add the manual after
Uh-huh.
or something like that. and
You
then
got Drew.
keep
I'm
going
sorry.
that
I'm
direction.
sorry, Drew. You've been given transmission homework.
But
Transmission homework.
I mean, manuals now are really simple to drive because they have hill assist.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and they also have that restart. If you do stall it, you just push the clutch in and it starts right up again.
Good
And
point.
so
Good
there's
point.
a lot.
Added training
There's,
It's getting
wheels
better.
to
You're
manual
yeah,
now.
they are. So
Yeah,
it's
that's good. That's
It's
good.
unfortunately they're killing the manual right at the wrong time when they figured out all the things they've solved about.
There's a question here from Fab Automotive Detailing. He thinks he owns just about every product you sell. Thanks for the great products, Richard.
Thank
but
you.
also asks you, if you could buy back one car you sold in the past, what would it be?
Oh, that's good.
I just did that.
We did.
Yes, I had a Porsche 911S that I had for 18 years.
Okay.
I sold that to buy a new one, which I've kept for a while. Still have that one, but always thought I made a mistake and sold the old 72S for this new 96 Porsche.
Junky old.
And I was just so disappointed because it didn't take any talent to drive the 96 like it did the 72.
Interesting. Okay.
And someone had said, gosh, you got to buy your car back. I didn't want it. I finally just said, okay, yes, but I'm only paying this. And they came back and said, for you, we're going to take that deal.
Cool.
So now I have the car back, and I had a chocolate lab that raised my 4 kids.
Okay.
It got loose
Was that
inside.
true? You got raised by a chocolate lab?
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. I just
And
thought
my
I'd ask.
Yeah.
I thought I'd ask. Okay. Good to know. Excellent. You need a shirt
And,
that says "Raised by a Chocolate Lab." I don't even know
turn
if
everything.
anybody else needs it. It's great though.
The dog jumped through the window of that car, the 72, and bit the key and had all these bite marks in the key fob.
Okay.
And I never got rid of that key. I always started the car with that key.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I got the car back and saw those bite marks in the key, I just
Yeah.
lost it because I love that dog.
I'm sure. That's
and
cool.
I just completely went, I don't care what I paid for this car.
That's amazing.
I
love that.
I would have paid 5 times as much had I known the key was still in there.
So wait.
That's
I gotta circle things back here. Pete,
Okay.
when you buy the car for your daughter, do you have a beloved dog that can chew on the key? We're blending
Chew
worlds
on
here.
this,
Without
and we'll
question.
connect the-
Yeah.
We're blending worlds. I love it.
Talk about it.
I love it.
Pulling on the
There was a
heartstrings.
question here actually from Andrew talking about, or was it Andrew that started it? Somebody's talking about, I'm sorry, they're going up quick, talking about the Veloster N versus the GTI. Keep in mind, we just did that comparo for the first episode of season 5. It's already played on cable. It's going to rerun on Motor Trend, and then it will be on Amazon Prime. It was the Rabbit Edition GTI the Civic SI and the Veloster N. That is a TV episode. You were curious about the comparisons of those. That, if you haven't seen it already, it's coming soon.
Yeah, I love the comment here from James Lang. You know, his wife came pre-trained. She prefers manuals.
Came pre-trained.
He came pre-trained because he always puts the toilet seat down. Love it.
All right, well, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a marriage
Boy.
that's working right there. Yeah.
They're going to be
compromise
married
back and
forever.
Yeah, exactly. There's no problems there. I love it.
Well, again, we're getting some great questions in YouTube, so keep submitting them. We're going to pick a winner here somewhere.
Somebody's got a question about, oh man, there are so many.
Yeah, they're coming fast. This is good.
What country is most represented in this garage? Or your garage, your collection in general?
You know, it's amazing. I think we've got American cars, Italian cars, Japanese cars, British cars.
I'd say the most underrepresented is Japan.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a
Interesting.
pretty close tie-up between Germany and America with a healthy helping of Italian.
Yeah, so that's like everything.
Although I have noticed a few cars, more than a few, have come from Japan. They've been owned there. And
Yes.
They've,
Yeah.
been driven,
But-
serviced, everything there, and you brought them over.
I'm kind of getting bit by the Japanese bug.
Are you?
Yeah, the
Interesting.
R32s that are coming
Yeah.
Any
through.
insight
sure.
into
Yeah,
what's
R34s.
Is there
Well,
a
right,
phase
you
coming
can't
on?
see this, but we've got a 240Z over here in the lift that we're just making perfect, and I just, you know, they really are special, and we didn't get all the really, really, really cool things that Japan was getting.
True.
And I think now we're just kind of, you know, this monster is awakening, and
Yeah.
the 25-year rule is in place.
Well,
and-
my generation obviously grew up with films that were very JDM focused, right, in Fast and Furious series, which is, again, you can debate the merit of those films, but they did a lot for the car
They're
culture.
cultural icons in the community for sure. Yeah,
and, but to Paul's point, so it's amazing that we're kind of breaking down some barriers and buying more Japanese cars that appeal to us and we can fit in and, again, have great inputs. 3 pedals are a lot of fun, and they're becoming more popular. In fact, I've seen a lot of these like Toyota sedans coming that are right-hand drive, and you just see some kid on the wrong side of the car.
Just to complicate things further, he's also on the other side of the car.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. But the other point is that a lot of German cars went to Japan. And
Yeah.
when you're looking at vintage German cars, if you're picking them out of Europe after the 25-year rule, or you're picking them out of Japan, well, the ones that come out of Japan weren't really ever driven on roads that were salted, so you have less rust
or
issues.
abused, or just pistol whipped, you know.
Plus, it's really cool to
Yeah.
open a hood of a Mercedes and see instructions and Japanese characters.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, it's a
That is
total
cool.
trip.
Yeah.
And you have a story in how this car traveled the world and eventually landed in the
And the
United
Mondial
States.
came out of Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, it did?
Yeah,
Even better.
That's great.
even better.
Even
You know what,
better.
seriously,
I've
it's the
said that.
Mondial
I
podcast.
had no idea.
Yeah, you have no idea, and you're all about it anyway.
They're fantastic. All right, what other questions do you guys see?
Apollo has a question here about with electrification and everything that's happening in cars, is pure driving experience becoming a dying breed? Apollo, unfortunately. Yeah, but we've made the comment before that we're hoping that manufacturers are going to split the atom, so to speak, and there's going to be the transportation devices
Yeah.
and the cars for those of us that want to drive. But the bigger question that we always touch on here, that is this big monster thing, we're going to have different road infrastructure and mass legislation changes, and let's be honest, nothing happens quickly once it involves politics. So, yeah.
Well, you guys have gotten into restoration a little bit. Edmund O
Yeah.
says on here, guilty pleasure car you would like to restore. I think that goes for any of us. But I know you've been getting into all levels of restoration, matter of fact, from paint completely off down to just bare metal, and then just this
Right.
car needed a little bit of freshening, and that's
Yeah.
it. So you've kind of tasted every level. Is there something you're looking at now from an investment standpoint, or just I'd like to kind of dig into that car just to be able to drive and enjoy it like it was?
Well,
Do you go back to the Duesenbergs and the Packards? Do you get
I
into that kind
don't.
of stuff?
I don't. And I obviously appreciate the craftsmanship. I mean, you can't build
sure.
a Duesenberg for what it would cost to, you know, restore it. I mean, if they were $1 million and you had to replicate everything in a Duesenberg, you couldn't do it for $1 million.
Sure. Yeah.
What would I restore? What am I restoring? I mean, the Cherokee Chief right now.
Really?
Interesting.
Yeah.
No
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just my son.
Full-size
my-
Jeeps.
yeah, full-size Jeeps
Those
are
are
kind of.
going up. Love it.
Yeah, I don't know why. I think I'm a really thin A-pillar guy,
Okay.
a really thin B-pillar. I cannot stand modern cars now where you turn over and you've got this seatbelt poking you in the eye.
Well, because they've got 3 airbags. in the
They've got
vehicle.
3. Yeah, so I'm want something with a lot of glass, and
Okay.
so I can enjoy. I mean, driving is about looking out the window too. It's not about texting while you're driving.
Hopefully.
It's
That's
about.
news to some people.
Yeah,
by the
Yeah,
way.
that is.
I know.
Yeah, exactly.
But I enjoy the art of driving and what you see on the, outside the windshield
Yeah.
and.
Well, it seems
the
like you go
glass.
back and forth between sort of SUVs and sort of the tough, rumbly drive experience
Yeah.
versus going all the way to sports cars and, something really.
I think if you're going to drive something that where the experience is there, and it makes you happy. And it's like, we talked about this earlier. If it doesn't make you happy and if you don't enjoy it, get rid of it and get something that does.
Yeah, agreed. You were talking about visibility. It dawned on me. All the cars we had today, granted, 2 of them were topless, but all the cars we had today had amazing visibility.
They did.
Even that
They did.
550, which I think, honestly, from the outside, doesn't look like a car that's going to have great visibility. It was all glass. I was in
It's
there
all
going,
glass.
I can see everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mondial was that way as well. Of course, plus
Yeah.
it has the thing that I have in my Lotus, which is just glass, and then whoosh, it's just a
That's
rake
the
to the
nothing.
street, which is really fun. Yeah,
I think the more glass, the better.
I can see that.
And I love the early, Hondas where they had the low belt line.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, the glass is like right down here and you can see everything.
Yeah, I can see.
And I think that's why people look, they're hitting stuff now. They can't really see out of a car anymore.
Or we're looking down at our phones. I don't know if you heard, but Elon Musk is trying to get Netflix to play in your Tesla because driving really isn't that important.
Are you serious?
Oh, I'm
Is
not
it?
kidding. I've seen that
Oh,
headline a few
fantastic.
places, so
Oh,
I
good.
can't wait till I can
Yeah, it's
binge
like
watch while I drive.
2 days between every autopilot into the back of a semi-truck
Excellent,
story.
excellent.
Well,
Yeah.
Or we could do that one. How about that one? You mentioned that one
Yeah,
earlier. You want to cover that one?
I think that's
Is that
my
our other winner?
favorite one
Okay,
that I've
let's do that.
seen.
Let's do that.
So I think I'm going to pick a winner. All right?
Go for it. Pick a winner.
Shane Mulhern on this live asked a question that I think is going to merit a lot of discussion, and it really is going to test how much we've been reading car magazines and are up on the blogs.
Uh-oh.
Right.
Oh, no. All
So,
bad.
Shane asks, first, it was awesome to visit the store in person last year. Your staff is awesome. Thank you. We really care about our staff. We hope that they make your experience pleasant. And again, anybody who's watching this who hasn't come before, including the honeymooners, you're going to love coming here. Promise.
Honeymoon
Now,
is
his
coming.
question
Griot's Garage
is,
for honeymoons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're
Now
hiring.
that the C8 is a reality, which
Okay.
dream car do you want to see become real next? So Shane, you are a winner, and I presume
Okay.
we're going to have a nice discussion. Shane, you
Ooh, you've been
are gonna
inspired. I
win
love it.
A starter orbital kit, and you just made my dad gasp in
Yes, there's
excitement.
Yes.
an
So,
answer coming there.
Yes.
You have clearly won. So
That-
Clearly won, and I want the 2-door Bronco.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah.
2-door Bronco.
Okay.
I mean, if Ford doesn't make that Bronco, I'm going to make my own Bronco.
And I believe you'll do it.
Yeah.
I believe if Ford doesn't, I believe you
Two,
will.
Send one to them.
Yeah.
This is how you should do it.
This should
No,
have been done.
and I don't
Thank you.
want a 4-door Bronco. I want
Yeah.
a 2-door Bronco, and I don't want the B-pillar and seat belt right there. I want it like back there.
Put it
so,
behind you.
And I just want it the windshield upright, and a
Okay.
lot of glass, a low belt line. I know they're trying to have a kind of sleek. No, I want a 2-door Bronco,
Okay.
Love it.
and I'll buy 5 of them for it if you can make that.
If you're listening to this podcast, Ford.
Back to where we were before. He's going to buy one and one for each of his kids. We're
There we go.
One
connecting
for all
the
of us
dots.
sitting at this table right
There you
here.
go. Love it, love it, love it.
Process
What
for
about you?
everybody.
What you have anything that they haven't put into production that you'd like to see, or it's?
There's actually, you guys might, I might get some gooning on this, but there have been some Mazda and Hyundai concepts that have come out that I wish they would do. There's been a really large sedan concept from the LA Auto Show from Mazda last year that I think would make people fall in love with sedans again instead of just the SUV everywhere. I saw in the Wall Street Journal not too long ago about the abundance of SUVs and dealers going, all right, what other products do we have to sell? It's
Right.
not everybody, but seems that way.
Well, but also,
And Hyundai, there's been some great concepts coming out of Hyundai. As you know, my love for Hyundai because of the design team, and Luke Donkervolka is now in charge of Genesis and what they're doing. And they're bringing out some cool designs that I think now other car companies are leaning over the wall looking at Hyundai going, what are you guys doing now? It's pretty inspired. There's some cool stuff going on. I'd love to see that. But I actually have read about the Kia Telluride pickup truck coming. Does the world need more pickup trucks?
I don't know.
Definitely. Definitely, yeah.
That's,
I got a pickup truck the other day. I'm just absolutely in love with it.
Really?
I
What'd you get?
Which truck?
I got the Dodge.
Okay.
2-wheel drive.
All right.
1500.
Okay.
Nice, just straight up.
2019, the new
Okay.
Dodge, with the black package. What do they call that? I don't know.
Midnight pack or whatever
dark,
it is. Yeah.
The dark night package.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Nice.
And you're pleased.
Yeah, it's got so many cubbies. I mean,
Yes.
it's got. I
Yes.
can't even fill the cubbies
Yes.
with all this
I've,
stuff.
I've had that thought before. If you
Yeah.
can fill every cubby in one of those, you're taking just too much stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bought the car based upon cubby count.
That happens?
I did.
Hey,
Yeah.
whole things are being sold based on cup holders. That's not
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
understand.
And it has like 49 outlet ports for all these USB cables and.
You can run a construction site off the modern pickup. You really can. You can just
Yeah.
plug everything
They're
in.
proud of that, too.
Yeah.
If
for
you
sure.
got the.
I want
120
a new Z car. That's the one I want. I want a new Z car.
They need to
And
bring
I
that,
also
yeah.
want them to do what they did. I know I owned a 300ZX. I'm biased, but I want them to do what they did with the second gen 300ZX, the Z32 of the 90s, where it broke from tradition. That car looks like a mid-engine and isn't. Well, I mean, there's a gorgeous Z sitting over there. I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
traditionally they are always, inspired by the E-Type. They've got the long nose and all that. But that 300ZX of the 90s is the icon that makes
Yes.
it on every list as far as most gorgeous and that kind of thing.
It
So do
is.
something that is reminiscent of that styling.
Right.
Modernize that. The Z is way too old. The 370Z is way too old, and that's a refinement of the 350. Let's do a new Z car. Let's aim it right down the muzzle of the Supra.
I'd like to think it's in the works.
I hope
because
so.
They've just announced 12,500 employees getting laid off after a nearly 100% fewer sales month.
Yeah, their last quarter
Yeah,
was
Nissan
bad.
had
Don't
it
touch
rough.
product
Yeah.
development. You don't touch new products because
Yeah.
that's what you need for new customers.
Yeah.
Bringing people back in the fold.
Right.
Getting rid of all the CVTs they have in the lineup, Maxima, Altima, everything else, and bringing something. I like that.
This is
a
a
lot.
brilliant idea.
I like that.
I would
Really
love to
is.
see a new
I
Z
hope
car.
it's in
I
the
really
works
would.
because
I
if
really
it's
would.
not, I think they're dead in the water right now.
Well,
Yeah.
Halo cars are important not for profitability as much as they are. You get to talk about
Yeah.
it for as
Totally.
long as possible. So
Yeah.
on the Halo car riff,
Yes.
Ah,
Please.
yes.
Please.
I have become a Jeep guy. As much as I love sports cars, my daily driver is that 1990 Jeep Grand Wagoneer that I have modified enough that my wife lets us put our infant in it. My dog loves it. I love it. Makes me very happy.
I like it.
But that is a car. It may not be my dream car, but that
Yeah.
is one I want to see. The new Grand Wagoneer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Because
just saw a sketch of that
well,
this
they've
morning.
been talking about it forever. It's really it's been hard for me to
Come on, Jeep.
pin it down. I didn't buy my wife's new car. We leased it, thinking that okay, this is going to come out in
Oh,
the
okay.
time of that lease. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to win me over there. And again, the C8, having owned a Corvette before, that was a big dream car. I wanted to see what they did, and I'm totally okay with it. I'd love to see Z06 and ZR1 where they're going to go
It'll
with
happen.
that.
It'll happen.
Yeah,
They're gonna
I
be
know
huge.
it's going to happen.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
that's the one that's been, I would say it's hard to have figured out what they're going to do, right? They speak about a third row and like, what is a third row, right?
They've had it kind of teased for the Chinese market too. I've seen the large Jeep that America might not get or the rest of the world might not get. I'm still seeing stuff about that, but I think they're losing out if they don't.
Take the windshield, make it more upright. Give me some glass. Make it just like the
Dora
original
Bronco.
one.
Phones are
You heard
on
it
and
here.
Yeah.
waiting.
Richard's buying
Yeah.
5.
I'm
so,
buying-
Yeah. I think we're about done. But guys, we've had a fantastic podcast. It's really good to sit here with. It's cool to do a live thing too. I like that.
So last question goes to you from
Great.
Fab Automotive, asking about opening a store in Indianapolis since manufacturing and distribution is also in Indianapolis.
So-
Any thoughts to that?
Dun dun dun.
They can go in there and pick up their stuff.
They can-
We
okay.
have a very small lobby, and
Okay.
that's how we started out in Fife, Washington, and then we put in
Oh,
a store.
wow.
So
Step by
if you
step.
give them enough business, maybe we'll launch a store there.
Okay.
It'd be very convenient for sure.
Yeah.
But,
What was the code again? Remind
okay,
folks
yeah,
of
and,
the
and
code.
once again, we're going to extend this past the live due to the podcast going live tomorrow.
Yep.
So SMGL2, if you use that when you check out at griosgarage.com, you're going to get a free heavy-duty wheel cleaning kit with your order of $99 or more. So again, we love to do this. We
It's
love
fun.
everybody tuning in.
Yeah.
Again, you can see the engagement.
It's
Can't
really
believe an
cool.
hour.
Great questions, guys.
Are we already done with an hour?
Yes, we've
Wow.
done an hour
It
already.
flies,
It went by
it
that
flies.
fast.
We can't
Yeah.
do this for 2 hours?
We're going to keep
wants-
talking
who wants
cars
to do it
anyway.
for 2
We're
hours?
going to keep going. It's going to keep happening, for
Yeah,
sure.
guys, thank you so much for joining us and joining these guys. As you can tell, I happy place right
Yeah,
here.
big time.
This is what we love doing, and we started with the drive, and we're just ending. We're continuing the discussion we've had all day long
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
Which is great. So thank you for having us again. Really, really appreciate it. And more to come. You and I have talked about now about a future. Maybe we're focused just on product podcast.
Yeah.
Once you're back on, we'll consider
Yeah,
that maybe.
I think again, we in these forums we generally answer detailing questions, but I think it's been great to just talk about the day we had and just
Yeah.
have
And
fun
cars in
together
general.
and
Yeah, yeah.
talk about cars.
It was a great day.
For Richard to be here and be able to weigh in on all these things again, it just we love doing this. It's what we do
Yeah.
collectively every day.
Clearly.
But
Clearly
now
it
we've got,
is, yeah.
you know, you need to go to the car shows to meet the crazies that you can speak to, and we're clearly
Crazies.
all at the table here together.
Yeah.
But I do think we should queue up another discussion sometime in the future where
Have you back on,
people
yeah.
can come and ask me anything they have on their mind, detailing related, and then of course if you're on the Griot's Garage YouTube channel, subscribe to us here. We do these lives every 2 weeks.
That's cool. That's
so
cool.
You can come in and
We
ask us questions.
we are so thankful about having you guys as a major sponsor for the show. We love that. We love your products. We're thrilled to be here. We got to drive fun cars today. You discovered you love Mondials. It's been a big day. I'm just saying.
No idea.
I'm just saying. It's been a big day.
I didn't see
And
that.
we
you
ended
didn't
with a
even-
podcast.
This morning, I didn't think like Mondials are
Yeah,
gonna be,
it's-
rolling off the tongue this afternoon.
It's all about that now.
Didn't see that
Yeah.
coming.
It's a
Gotta
big
give some
day.
Credit to my brother Philip. He
Yes.
definitely poked that.
Yes.
Huge,
a
huge.
huge
Philip
shout out
walked
to
in.
Philip.
We were having a conversation. Sorry, I have to tell the story one time. We were having a conversation this morning about what cars we're going to take, and Philip hadn't really said anything, and he just kind of steps in and goes, "Have you driven a Mondial?" And I was like, "A what?"
Why
and
would
then
I
and then we
drive a
pulled it, and now
Mondial?
we're all about it. So there you go. You never know. You can be surprised.
They're 50 grand. Start shopping. Start shopping.
They won't last long.
Awesome, guys.
All right, we're good.